Hi, everyone. Welcome to Product Sustainability, building new products by reusing existing capabilities. My name is Meghna Shah, and I work at PwC. So, really excited to have everyone join this part of the conference and the speech. So, we'll just give folks a couple more minutes as they join in. While you're doing that, please drop in the chat and let me know what part of the world are you joining us from today. I'd love to hear where you're joining us from. I am based out of New York City, so I'm in New York on the East Coast. Um, yeah, and I would love to hear where you're coming in from. All right. Let's get started. Before we jump into really the meat of the whole, the talk today, let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Meghna. I am a director in PwC's Product and Innovation Group. I have almost 15 plus years of experience within the technology realm and really kind of building and implementing technology products that are really solving some sort of a business or a customer problem. So that's been my whole world. I've been born and raised in consulting. My sector focus has been more on the financial services side. So, really, with banking, capital markets, asset management, insurance. But of course, a lot of the pieces we're going to talk about is sector agnostic, and you can apply to really, no matter what products you're trying to build. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the talk. Another piece I'd love to bring up is I'm sure folks are wondering that what is consulting and product, right? How does those two pieces come together? So if you're familiar with the consulting model, right, it's a very client-serving, client-facing role, and we help our clients with any and all problems that they really have. So when it comes to technology problems, there are really two hats that I wear, and my team here at PwC wears. One is we actually help our clients build the products. So if they're struggling with some particular use case where they want to design a mobile application or design a new technology product that's consumer facing or internal staff and facing, we actually have a team of architects, engineers, designers, and we build the product and then deploy it in our clients' environments. And then the other piece is the more traditional consulting lens, which is around teaching and learning and coaching, where we actually work with our clients to help them understand how product management, discipline, and the modern ways of working can be applied in their organization. So that's just kind of to give you a little bit of a flavor of there's more hands-on, and then there's also the consulting element of what we do. So happy to field any other questions we can have after the speaking part of this talk around consulting. All right, so let's get into a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. As you know, the topic is product sustainability. So we're going to talk a little bit about, how I define product sustainability and how PwC does. Then we'll get a little bit into the mechanics around what is product, what is the product development life cycle. And this stuff should be fairly familiar to y'all because y'all obviously working in product, right? But we'll just kind of go through some of the basics to level set. I have a case study in here, sanitized, of course, for a major global bank that I worked on where we leveraged some of these principles. So I'd love to walk you guys through that one. And then just talk a little bit about our approach, our framework, and our enablers that kind of help us in being effective when we're doing product sustainability. And then finally, speak a little bit about PwC, what we do here, and answer any questions you may have about either the topic or PwC in general. All right. So let's just jump in. So the big question, right? What is product sustainability? I'm going to read off the slide, so forgive me, but I'll go slow, and it's intentional because the way I've written up this slide is more conversational. So I'm just going to read, so you can follow along. So when we talk about product sustainability, we know that the customer needs in today's environment, right, are constantly evolving, and that requires organizations to be nimble, agile, and respond to changing requirements and needs very quickly. Banks are starting to look more and more like tech companies, right, who want to offer these digital differentiated experiences to their millennial or the Gen Z consumer base. So how do they do that, right? Because these banks have a lot of large legacy infrastructure investments that they have made, or there are just certain investments around ERP solutions, cloud that they've already made. So how do you factor all of those things in when you're trying to create new products and new experiences for your existing or new customer base? That's what product sustainability is all about, is designing products by factoring in your existing investments, your existing business capabilities and technology components, so you can actually build and deliver new products in a more financially viable way. So every time a new requirement comes up, we're not really, building brand new components and, making brand new investments in certain technologies, but we're kind of looking under the hood and seeing what we've invested in, what is the tech strategy of the company, and how can we reuse certain components and features, right? Feel free to drop questions into the chat, and I'll either respond on the chat while we're talking, or we can also address them when we get to the Q&A part of the session. So benefits, right? Why do this? I mean, I know it sounds fairly intuitive, right? Not rocket science here, but some of the key benefits is, it helps you find your product market fit faster. We all know how important that is in the product world. And now you have a set of existing capabilities that have already been proven. So you know your consumers are used to a certain type of capability or experience, and you've already proven that in the market. So, it can help you achieve product market fit faster, deliver value quickly, because the time it takes to go to market has obviously gone down now. It reduces your tech footprint, so you're being a little bit more mindful of the different buy, build investments that you're making. It helps achieve consistency in product delivery and experience. So each new experience or service that you are providing to your customers is actually rooted in something that you've already built. So it provides that consistency. You can do more plug and play services, which is great. And then finally, it also allows your organization and your customers, your clients, to really balance emerging technologies with existing investments, so that you can really strike that balance between what is new, emerging, and disruptive versus what do you want to kind of keep that's common to the ethos of the company and the company's tech strategy. Okay. All right. Drop in a question for the chat. What do you think of when you think of product? Right. So when I say the word product, and I know that we've been talking a lot about product over these 2 days, right, for the conference, but what do you think about when you think of a product? So I'll tell you what I think, right? And what we at PwC think. A product can be anything. A product can be something that you're experiencing. It can be something that is built for us to actually tangibly and physically hold and use. Or it could be something that's more derived, which is producing insights or some sort of analytics or results that we can then apply to make certain decisions. So product is really kind of a broad definition that we use within consulting and in the industry as well, when we talk about product. This is one of the key principles that I strongly believe in. So when I talk about product, I always talk about three dimensions. That an effective product is a culmination of the user experience, the capabilities that the business provides, and the underlying platform technology components. It's when all three of these seamlessly come together is when you have a winning product that you're taking to market. There is a little bit of over indexing sometimes on just the experience side of it, of what does the customer want. The customer is king here. What they are really at the center of the design. But it's not just about the experience. It's also a balance of capabilities and platforms that's then going to enable those experiences for your customer. So that's kind of one of the key foundation things at PwC, and how we approach product sustainability. So it's just an important concept to keep in mind for the remainder of the slides. Product development lifecycle. I'm sure y'all have seen various versions of these, so I am not going to belabor this, but I just kind of wanted to level set how PwC thinks about it, which is ideation, exploration, design, interactive development, then you're doing the actual deployment, and then adoption. So when we talk about a PDLC, this is the left to right that we talk about. And of course, there's various steps that kind of go through each of these life cycle phases, if you will. And then at a high level, you think about ideas, initiatives, epics, features, stories, tasks, right, before deployment. Again, I know everyone's super familiar with this. For us, for product sustainability, where we're really going to play in is this design phase, right? So when you really have the idea and you've explored the business case and you know what you want to build with your customer, as you start getting into the product design portion of it, that's where a lot of the core fundamentals of product sustainability come to life. So we'll talk about that. Okay. So this is a case study that I was talking about. So this is for a major global financial service company that I worked with a few years ago. And what they wanted to do is they had a very strong presence in retail banking, and they wanted to branch out to small and medium businesses as well. And within their organization, small and medium businesses kind of fell more with commercial banking than it fell with retail banking. And that was one of the pieces that we were quickly able to identify, that a small business looks and feels more like a retail account than it does for a commercial account. So if we wanted to launch and go to this small segment, we need to look at what kind of capabilities we already have in the retail space and how can we package those up. So really the focus was the accelerated nature, acceleration being a key word, right? Because that's really going to help you go to market faster. It allowed for deeper customer driven use cases that increase customer engagement, and by creating very personalized and contextual banking experience for this particular client. So what we did is we started with, we had defined the idea, the business case, the persona, customer journey. That's pretty standard. Then you define your target state, business capability, a decomposition of that journey. Again, pretty standard. Then you define the target state design. So now that we know that this is what we want for the customer and this is what the target business capabilities are required, what technologies do we need to deliver this if we wanted to enable these capabilities? And then we had a bunch of use cases, right? That what this customer persona would want to do to enable this journey experience. So, for instance, we need them to be able to scan data from a picture for authentication. So we needed OCR capability. So that's one thing that we knew that that's a tech or a feature or component that we needed. The other piece was around authentication, voice authentication when they call over for a contact center, because it was an omni-channel capability. So we would need some sort of a voice authentication feature. And then we looked at our existing inventory of current state business capabilities and architecture and service libraries to understand what can we plug and play, what can we already pull from what we have today, and then what is the net new that we need to build, buy, or partner with. So that's really my next slide here, right? If you look at the left to right, we knew the experiences where, okay, you need to initiate a relationship with the bank. Then you provide identity verification. Then they apply for some sort of a product, whether it's a deposit or a lending product. And then they have the ability to update or edit their account. And then they continue the relationship. So as we looked at each value stages and broke down what feature or what component will they need, almost 80% of these capabilities you see here already existed with the retail bank. So we have an agent portal for the retail bank. We have live chat functionality. We have e-signature, and we have appointment booking, right? So we were able to design this target state blueprint by pulling in all these features, which were components that can easily be plugged into for this particular use case for small and medium businesses. And as a result, the first MVP went to market in just 6 months. They have a typical delivery life cycle of 18 months. So it was a huge win for the organization because they were able to repackage a lot of the capabilities, and they were actually able to see through this process that small to medium businesses is more like retail than it is to commercial. Because if it would have been compared to commercial and it would have sit within commercial banking, then it would have gone through a completely different process, and we would have ended up building a lot of these features and components which already existed in retail. So that's the case study that we did for this particular client, which was just amazing to see. All right, so I'll move on a little bit towards our approach to product sustainability. Really at the heart of it, right, my consistent theme for the last 20 minutes or so that I've been talking, right, has been around experience, capabilities, and technology. When all three of these come together. And that's really the crux of it, that how can you create an explicit linkage between what the value proposition is for your customer, what the business needs are, and the architecture that's then going to help the organization focus on what capabilities you truly need to enable those experiences for your customer. So if you look at the diagram on the right side, right, it's fairly self-explanatory, but if you look at the left to right, you have your user persona, you have your different value stages. So in the example that we walked through for the case study, this is the journey experience that the customer is going through. So underneath it, to enable that experience, what business capability do they need? Okay, they need the ability to be able to reach out to a contact to an agent if something breaks in their process, or they should have the ability to authenticate themselves. They should have the ability to upload documents, in a multi-channel, omni-channel capacity, so they can start a journey on their mobile phone, but they walk by a branch and they should be able to complete the journey in the branch, right? So those are all the different business capabilities that start to come up. And then we break it down into features that, okay, this means they need an OCR technology, they need multi-channel appointment booking, they need voice authentication, they need e-signature, they need document upload, right? So those are all the features that you then start identifying. And then you look at your catalog or your inventory of components that you have and what can you plug and play. So of course that requires a certain level of sophistication in which you've built up your architecture and all your tech components. So hopefully it's microservices based and you can plug and play fairly easily. So that kind of becomes the crux of making an agile tech architecture and like a tech foundation. This is a framework I love a lot, so feel free to use it. It's something that we leverage. If you think about customer journey, and then you think about the second layer is your domain architecture, and then the last three pieces for technology, tech architecture, data architecture, and infrastructure architecture. So this is kind of like just helps you think about what are the different deliverables and pieces that you can leverage as you're thinking about product development and sustainable product development framework. So you can use this as a rinse and repeat. For developing any of the use cases for build and deployment, and that gives you the full traceability between journey to architecture. Won't spend a lot of time here, but it's just a good framework for you all to have in your back pocket. All right, chat question. I've been talking for a while. So can you think of a business that has reused its core capabilities to launch a new product? Like if you had to look around you, what would you say? So feel free to drop it in the chat. I think the one that I'm going to share is probably going to be super popular. So Uber and Uber Eats, right? So Uber fundamentally, right, has a set of capabilities and components that it has now leveraged to have a completely new product offering or service offering, depending how you look at it, for Uber Eats, right? But the underlying components, the underlying tech components are the same. And that's an excellent example of how you can reuse your existing infrastructure, your existing investments in technology to actually launch to either a whole new customer segment, like I said in my business, in my example, or like Uber Eats, where you're going after the same customer base, but you're going with a brand new product offering. Okay. This is key artifacts, just something nice to have in your back pocket. I'm sure you're very familiar with these pieces, but I often feel we talk a lot about the customer and the experience and the design side of the house, where we talk about personas and journeys. So I just kind of wanted to offer this group like a list of artifacts that can help you for a technology and a business capability standpoint as well. So you're thinking about target state architectures, high-level solution design, use cases, business capabilities map, process maps, non-functional requirements, right? And all of these pieces, I'm sure your organization already has standards and templates, or they're very readily available on any product platform as well online. So I strongly recommend you spend some time with those if you haven't, or if you don't already. All right. That's all I had from product sustainability standpoint. Again, I work at PwC. and I'm part of the product and innovation practice. So we help our clients either take new technology products to market, or we help them understand what being a product organization looks and feels like, and how can they upskill their resources, how can they adopt new and modern ways of working. So there are a lot of those pieces that we help with. So I would love if anyone's interested, either in the Q&A section or even after, feel free to reach out to me. Um, there's a lot of exciting things that we're doing in consulting, and consulting is starting to look more and more like product and industry, where we're actually getting into the trenches with our clients and co-building products for them and with them. So yes, feel free to reach out to me on my email, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and we can connect and talk some more if you're interested.